Hi, everybody. How are you today? So, let's begin our International Framework for Environmental Protection Lecture 14 on ISO 14001 and EMS, Environmental Management System. So, let's get started. The keywords are ISO and EMS, Environmental Management System, compliance, accreditation, certification. So these are the words related to ISO and EMS. The ISO is the International Organization for Standardization that develop and publish international standards. For example, basic standards, product standards, test method standards, and management system standards. And the Environmental Management System, EMS, is a system that an organization uses for making certain that it does everything possible to protect the environment and comply with all laws relating to the environment. Compliance. It is the practice of obeying rules or requests made by people in authority. And accreditation is official approval given by an organization stating that somebody or something has achieved a required standard. And certification is the act of certifying what was accredited. So let's now see what is ISO 14001. What do you need to know about ISO 14001? I'll repeat this many times in this lecture until you get very familiar to that. And what does it do and who is it for? ISO 14001 or 14001 sets out the criteria for an environmental management system and can be certified to. It maps out a framework that a company or organization can follow to set up an effective environmental management system. It is designed for any type of organization, regardless of its activity or sector. It can provide assurance to company management and employees, as well as external stakeholders that environmental impact is being measured and improved. What kind of organization? For example, universities, hospitals, supermarkets, commercial malls, theater, industries, factory, companies, amusement park, and so on and so on. Different kind of organization. But for each organization, we can use this ISO 14001. What do the standards in the ISO 14000 family cover? The ISO 14000 family of standards are developed by ISO Technical Committee, ISO TC 207, and its various subcommittees. For a full list of published standards in the series, see their standards catalog. You can click here to see it. ISO 14001 provides requirements with guidance for use that relate to environmental systems. Other standards in the family focus on specific approaches such as audits, communications, labeling, and life cycle analysis, as well as environmental challenges such as climate change. And can an organization be ISO 14001 certified? Yes. There are more than 300,000 certifications to ISO 14001 in 171 countries around the world. ISO survey or certifications. You can find out more, not only on certification, but a wide range of benefits of ISO 14001. So all you need to know about ISO 14001 2015 are on this video of 34 minutes. But I'll tell you about that today in the lecture, okay? For example, this is a Japanese firm. It's a company that has this ISO 14001 certification. So this is a very important for this company to show to the society that this company is certified, because you can tell them that this company cares and matters with the environment and take care of the employees, also not polluting the environment and using the energy in a right way, and garbage also, the control of garbage and how they limit their energy cost. So everything is very important for getting the ISO 14001. If the company cares about every kind of these items that are included to be certified. So what is ISO 14001 EMS? It provides a framework or a set of guidelines that will protect the environment and respond to changing environmental conditions in balance with socio-economic needs. ISO 40001 gives the requirements for what the organization must do to manage processes affecting the impact of the activities on the environment. It helps organizations improve their environmental performance through efficient use of resources and reduction of waste. According to ISO 14001, any organization can achieve these goals if it establishes an environmental management system, EMS, and if it continually tries to improve the suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of this system. So, what the company has to do to maintain their ISO 14001? What kind of environmental activity is important for those companies? This is an example of a label of Intertech. This is a Japanese company who got this certification from the ISO 14001. And also United Kingdom AS management system at the same time. ISO 14001 2015 and this UCAS. And what is ISO? Again, what is does and does not? ISO is an international organization for standardization, and it is independent, non-governmental organization established in 1947 to facilitate international trade and exchange by creating and implementing uniform standards in the whole world. It has 164 members now, including 3 types of membership. There are 3 types of membership: full member, 121, correspondent member, 39, and subscriber members, 4. ISO develops voluntary, consensus-based, market-relevant international standards that support innovation and provide solutions to global challenges. ISO raises public awareness of standards and standardization and formulates standards which include basic standards, product standards, test method standards, and management system standards. ISO doesn't issue certificate, doesn't approve, accredit, and control the certification bodies. It only develops standards and guidelines, encourage good practice in accreditation and certification. ISO has formulated more than 22,000 standards. Among them, Quality Management System, ISO 9001, and Environmental Management System, ISO 14001, the topic of this lecture. So, are two most popular management system standards of ISO. What are the merits of obtaining the ISO 14001? First one is business passport. Second, avoiding environmental pollution. Third, improving the good image of the company. Fourth, activation of the enterprise. Fifth, cost effectiveness. So if pollution is caused by a certain company, that company will have very bad name and many people will avoid that company. As for example, the company that caused Minamata disease, for example, Chiso, the company changed the name so that the people does make people forgive and forget about the Minamata disease. And the company had to pay a lot for the lawsuits of Minamata, but it still is not on the way. So if the company had the ISO 14001, the company wouldn't have done such a damage to the environment. But at that time in 1950s, there was no Minister of Environment. Environment was a word that was not so frequently used. And at that time, there was no ISO also, ISO 14001 too. But nowadays, it is more improved. Environmentally, it improved. So that's why we do not have Minamata disease anymore in Japan. But in other countries, we have. So now let's see about the environmental management system. Environmental management system is a part of the overall management system of an organization, which consists of organizational structure, planning, activities, responsibilities, practices, procedures, processes, and resources for developing, implementing, achieving, reviewing, and maintaining the environmental policy. EMS is a framework that helps an organization achieve its environmental goals through consistent review, evaluation, and improvement of its environmental performance. The assumption is that this consistent review and evaluation will identify opportunities for improving and implementing the environmental performance of the organization. Systematic process of improving environmental performance of organization continuously and through each and every aspect of organization. ISO 14001 2015 is a guideline to establish an efficient EMS. And how was ISO 14001 established? After the success of ISO 9000 QMS series of ISO in 1992, Rio de Janeiro Conference, UNCD, requested ISO to make international environmental standards. ISO then made a strategic advisory group on the environment, SAGE, a committee of some representative of government, national standardization organization, business professional, and environmental professionals. SAGE recommended a consensus of standards. In 1993, TC207 was established to look after environmental affairs. TC207 submit final draft of consensus after approval. Then, that consensus was approved by 4 members, 2/3 majority. And final standards published by ISO in 1996. ISO 14001 was first published in 1996 and updated in 2004 and rectified as ISO 14001 2015, which replaced all previous editions, 96 and 2004. So, what is ISO 14001 2015? Well, this is the 3rd edition, and it is the international standards for environmental management systems published by the International Organization for Standardization, ISO, in September 2015. It's a voluntary standard that assists organizations to establish, implement, maintain, and improve their environmental management system. It is an environmental management standard which defines a set of environmental management requirements. Those requirements are mentioned in 10 clauses set by ISO. The purpose of this standard is to help organizations to protect the environment and to respond to changing environmental conditions. This is the clauses and subclauses of ISO 14001 2015. This is the clause, this is the subclauses. We have scope, normative references, terms, and definitions. And the fourth clause, it changes a little bit. Context of the organization, understanding the organization and its context. 4.2, understanding the needs and expectations of interested parties. 4.3, determining the scope of the quality management system. 4.4, environmental management system. And 5 is leadership. 5.1, leadership and commitment. 5.2, environmental policy. 5.3, organizational roles, responsibilities, and authorities. 6, planning. 6.1, actions to address risks and opportunities. 6.2, environmental objectives and planning to achieve them. 7, support. 7.1, resources. 7.2, competence. 7.3, awareness. 7.4, communication. 7.5, documented information. 8, operation. 8.1, operational planning and control. 8.2, emergency preparedness and response. 9, performance evaluation. 9.1, monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. 9.2, internal audit. 9.3, management review. And 10, improvement. 10.1, general. 10.2, non-conformity and corrective action. 10.3, continual improvement. And for that aim, we have this PDCA, clause structure. So plan, do, check, act. This is a circle. First, we have introduction. 1, scope. 2, normative references. 3, terms and definitions. And 4, In the plan, we have 4, 5, and 6 clauses. 4, context of the organization. 5, leadership. 6, planning. Do. 7, support. 8, operations. Check. 9, performance evaluation. Act. 10, improvement. So this PDCA is plan, do, check, and act. So repeatedly, this cycle will make the improvement so that the ISO 14001 would work in a right way. And here we can see the key differences in new edition of ISO 14001 2015. This is the ISO of 2004. This is of 2015. So 0, 1, 2, and 3, no changes. But from 4, we have here is in 2004. Environmental system and requirements, it will change to context of the organization in 2015. Essentially, a new requirement to understand the needs and expectations of interested parties. And here we have 4.1 general requirements. It will change to 5 leadership, enhanced requirements. 4.2 environmental policy. We change to 6 planning. Significant change, enhanced requirements. 4.4 implementation and operation. It is clause 7 in 2015. Support. Enhanced requirement, new requirement. 4.5 checking. It will be clause 8 operation. New requirement, enhanced requirement, and simplified requirement. 4.6 management review will be 9 performance evaluation, new requirement, and 10 improvement, more structured approach. So very different in 2015. So let's take a look again to these clauses of ISO 14001 2015. Let's see. Clause 4, context of the organization. 4.1, identify and understand internal and external contexts of organization. 4.2, understanding need and expectation of interested parties. 4.3, determining scope of quality management system. And 4.4, establish environmental management system. Now, this is clause 5 about the leadership. 5.1, provide leadership accepting responsibility for the EMS. 5.2, provide leadership by establishing an environmental policy. 5.3, provide leadership by assigning EMS role and responsibilities. Now, this is the clause 6 about planning. 6.1, formulate actions to address risks and opportunities. 6.2, set environmental objectives and make plans to achieve them. Clause 7, support. There are so many subclauses. 7.1, support your EMS by providing the necessary resources. 7.2, support your EMS by ensuring the competent people. 7.3, support your EMS by making people aware of their duties. 7.4, support your EMS by controlling your communication. 7.5, support your EMS by managing documented information. Clause 8 about the operations. 8.1, Establish your EMS processes and control how they operate. 8.2, establish your emergency preparedness and response processes. Now, this is clause 9 about the evaluations. Determine your environmental performance and compliance. 9.2, audit your organization's EMS. 9.3, review your organization's environmental management system. And clause 10 is improvement. 10.1, take action to improve your EMS and achieve intended outcomes. 10.2, control non-conformities and take appropriate corrective action. 10.3, enhance the suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of your EMS. And now here in a diagram, the most commonly used framework for an EMS is ISO 14001, 2015, developed by the ISO PDCA approach, Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle. So this is the EMS, ISO 14001, 2015. Identify context and establish EMS. Provide responsible leadership, planning, support, operation, evaluate, continuous improvement, and then identify context and establish EMS. And so it will continue, and continuing and improving for better environment. This is the seal of certified ISO 14001. What is ISO 40001 2015 certified? Obtaining ISO 14001 certification means that the company is being aware of the environmental obligations and is conscious to reduce its effects on environment. This will also prove to organization's stakeholders, customers, and employees that your organization cares about the environment. It gets more credential in society also. So these are the advantages of ISO 14001, 2015. It's a repetition. Improve resource efficiency, reduce waste, provide assurance that the environmental impact is being measured, gain competitive advantage, increase new business opportunities, meet legal obligations, increase stakeholder and customer trust, improve overall environmental impact, manage environmental obligations with consistency, using reduce, reuse, and recycle approach. Organization will make tangible cost reductions. Implementing EMS procedures will enhance your company image and improve your green credentials within the local community and to potential investors. And you getting this certification, you are also at the same time participating to the SDGs. So let's see here, ISO standards help to meet SDGs. These are the numbers of ISOs related to the SDGs. So, for example, goal 1 is no poverty here, 78. And goal 2, zero hunger, 70. Goal 3, good health and well-being, 393. Goal 4, this is the quality education, 87. Gender equality, 54. Goal 6, clean water and sanitation, 171. And goal 7 is this was the topic of the latest lecture. Okay. Affordable and clean energy. 162. Goal 8, 184. This is decent work and economic growth. Goal 9 is this. We have 570 ISOs. So this is for the industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Goal 10, 131. Reduced inequality. Goal 11, sustainable cities and communities. 286. Goal 12, responsible consumption and production. This is 314. 13, climate action, 231. Goal 14, life below water. If the company matters with the life below water. If the company mattered about this, Minamata disease wouldn't have happened. This is the goal 14 and 103. Goal 15, life on land, 190. Goal 16, peace and justice, strong institutions, 16. 68. And goal 17, partnerships to achieve the goal. So the ISO standards also contributes to all of the SDGs, as you could see. Now, let's see about the accreditation and certification of ISO 14001. This is the seal of the International Accreditation Forum, IAF. IAF is a global network of accreditation bodies. Accreditation bodies are established in many countries with the primary purpose of ensuring that certification bodies are subject to oversight by an authoritative body. We have the Regional Accreditation Corporation in Africa, African Accreditation Corporation, Americas, IAAC, Inter-American Accreditation Corporation, Arab Region, ARAC, Arab Accreditation Corporation, Europe, EA, European Corporation for Accreditation, Asia Pacific, APAC, Asia Pacific Accreditation Corporation, Southern Africa, SADC, Southern African Development Community Corporation in Accreditation. So now let's see about the accreditation. The accreditation board, national board in some countries. In India, there is a national accreditation board for certification bodies, NABCB. In Japan, we have International Accreditation Japan, IA Japan. In Sri Lanka, we have Sri Lanka Accreditation Board for Conformity Assessment, SLAB. In Indonesia, we have National Accreditation Body of Indonesia. And certification bodies. Certification bodies issues certificate of ISO standard to any organization after auditing. In nation, there may be one or more certification bodies accredited by accreditation board. Now let's see here in 2005, how many cases of certification of ISO 14001 in the world. In 2005, the total was 18,104. The total of the every country's accredited were 88,800. In 2005, Japan was the first country getting so many certification of ISO 14001, 18,104. Second was China with 8,865. And Spain with 6,523. England with 6,223. And here, Italy with 5,304. United States with 4,671. This is Germany with 4,440. And Sweden was 3,716. Korea, 2,610. France, 2,607. Brazil with 1,800. Canada with 1,706. India with 1,500. Taiwan with 1,463. And Australia with 1,406. And so on and so on and so on. So let's see now in different countries. ISO 14001 in Nepal. Nepal has full membership of ISO. Nepal has participated in 10 technical committees and 3 policy development committees of ISO. Nepal Bureau of Standard and Metrology, which is under the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, and Supply of Nepal, represents Nepal in ISO. In Nepal, there is no national level accreditation board. NBSM itself certifies Nepalese organizations as ISO 14001 standards. NBSM is accredited by National Accreditation Board and certification bodies, India. At present, some foreign certification bodies from India, Australia, and United Kingdom have established their branches in Nepal. Few consultancies have been established to provide the necessary counseling and training to adopt ISO 14001 EMS in Nepal. On the record of Nepal Bureau of Standard and Metrology, there are only 26 ISO 14001 certified companies in Nepal. In market, more than 500 organizations are claiming that they are ISO 14001 certified. Some organizations have declared that they have complied with ISO 14001, but due to unavailability of both national level accreditation board and the required number of certification bodies, their claims are not verified. However, it shows the awareness about environment. It is the need of the time to establish the accreditation board in Nepal, which can look after all types of management system certification bodies, including laboratories accreditation. Now let's see about the article on environmental quality management, volume 29, issue 3. This is a research article on assessment of the critical factors in implementing ISO 14001, 2015, environmental management systems for developing countries, a case study for Sri Lanka. This is the authors, Veera Singhe and Jaya Surya, published on June 19, 2020. This is a brief abstract, shorter abstract. This study assessed the influence of top management commitment applications of compliance and other requirements, operational control, monitoring and measurements, resource management, and improvements as critical factors on successful implementation and operation of the ISO 14001, 2015, by considering organizations in Sri Lanka as a case study. A data collection was conducted via questionnaires and structured interviews from stakeholders who are directly responsible for the EMS, such as environmental managers, quality managers, and general managers of the organizations, who are certified with ISO 14001, 2015, and comparisons were undertaken. The statistical analysis of the critical factors has shown a significant positive effect on both large-scale organizations and export-oriented organizations on EMS implementation. Furthermore, the results indicate that the EMS adoption has created significant positive impacts on efficient energy and resource consumption within organizations. I once read also an article on the Japanese commercial mall that implemented this ISO 14001, and they improved in their energy. They could cut the energy cost after implementing this ISO 14001. This is another article by Mosgaard and Christensen on companies that discontinue their ISO 14001 certification. Reasons, consequences, and impact on practice. This is of March 2020, Journal of Cleaner Production. So this is an abstract of this paper. This paper analyzes 19 Danish companies that have chosen to discontinue their ISO 14001 certification. So they say, we analyze the reasons for discontinuation and how this decision influenced the environmental practices in the companies. This provides insights into the barriers for ISO 14001, but also the institutionalized practices that continue in the companies when the certification is discontinued, as well as the practices that have not become institutionalized and thus discontinue along with the certification. The companies have been certified an average of 8 years. There are two main categories of companies that have chosen to discontinue their ISO 14001 certification. The first category covers those that have chosen to substitute with another system. The environmental practices mostly continue, although only one company have chosen to work with continuous improvements after they discontinued their certification. The second category covers those that have chosen to not to have a system. For those companies, very few practices from the systematic approach is maintained, even though they have many years of experience with being certified. Several of the companies still consider environmental issues when doing large investments such as new machinery or buildings. The main argument for discontinuing ISO 14001 rests on a cost-benefit consideration. The resources needed to maintain the certification are too big compared to the experienced benefits. The lack of benefits is mainly related to economic arguments, but the companies also explain that there is no focus on ISO 14001 from neither customers nor other environmental stakeholders. Also, they have not found sufficient organizational and environmental benefits to sustain the system. The companies have focused on production and resource efficiency and have not included more strategic elements such as a life cycle or product-oriented perspective. Strategic initiatives can be a solution for the companies that feels that they have harvested the low-hanging fruits already and have not found strategic value in ISO 40001. So let's see the case in China. This is a very interesting, informative video. Key steps to successful ISO 14001 implementation. The webinar discussed the main steps organizations should take to successfully implement ISO 14001 and increase its competitive advantage. Also, it covered the importance of sustainability and how it can support the standards implementation. Main points covered: what's new in ISO 14001, sustainability's key feature and relevance for EMS, ISO, and sustainability, how they relate, and how sustainability is key to ISO implementation, conclusion, and tips. And this is another interesting video. Key steps to successful ISO 14001 implementation. Presenter is Jessica Mann. She is the CEO and founder of Green Futures Unlimited, a specialty environmental health and safety and sustainability consulting firm. With over 30 years of experience in the field, she has served in leadership roles at several international corporations. Currently, she provides consulting services to leading organizations and teaches at the University of California, San Diego, in the Sustainable Business Certificate Program. A frequent guest speaker at various professional events, she has written a number of articles and white papers on sustainability topics, including green chemistry and the integration of occupational health and safety with sustainability. This is interesting. You should watch this, okay? And now let's see about another article. What explains the uneven take-up of ISO 14001 at the global level? By Eric Neumeyer. This is the journal on the environment and planning, and written in 2004 of the Department of Geography and Environment, London School of Economics and Political Science. So he says, since its release in the mid-1990s, close to 37,000 facilities have been certified to ISO 14001, the international voluntary standard for environmental management systems. Yet, despite claims that the standard can be readily adapted to very different corporate and geographic settings, its take-up has been highly geographically variable. This paper contributes to a growing body of work concerned with explaining the uneven diffusion of ISO 14001 at the global level. Drawing from the existing theoretical and empirical literature, they develop a series of hypotheses about how various economic, market, and regulatory factors influence the national count of ISO 14001 certifications. These hypotheses are then tested using econometric estimation techniques, using data for a panel of 142 developed and developing countries. They found that per capita, ISO 14001 counts are positively correlated with income per capita, stock of foreign direct investment, exports of goods and services to Europe and Japan, and pressure from civil society. Conversely, productivity and levels of state intervention are negatively correlated. The paper finishes by offering a number of recommendations to policymakers concerned with accelerating the diffusion of voluntary environmental standards. So after looking at these topics, we have some conclusion. We discuss many global and borderless issues of environmental destructions. So can any government and single organization check each and every product in the world, whether it has negative impact on environment or not? Who stops it? Who controls whom and how? What is a better way to protect the world or the environment? ISO 14001-2015 EMS is an easier tool or way to protect our environment mainly from industrial sector. It suggests each and every company or organization to establish EMS and who? Do by yourself by establishing an EMS, analyze your organization context for and how. Committed and responsible leadership 5. Plan, support, and operate 6, 7, and 8 clause. Evaluate yourself clause 9. And continuously improve clause 10. So we have so many rules, and we have also many means for mediating the broken environment. And we have to correct them and make improvements for better world. So what we learned today here, it is more for the industrial sector, but we have also to pay attention in our homes, what we can do in our homes. So let's protect our environment ourselves. Establish an EMS in each organization compliance with the ISO 14001-2015 standards and recommend others to follow it. Also, we have to begin from our houses, paying attention to the environment. So thank you very much for watching this video. And here are some references on the articles and videos. So please take a look at them. It is very informative. And maybe it is not so interesting, but it is very informative and very fruitful for our environment. So thank you very much for watching, and see you on the next lecture. It will be our last lecture of this series. Okay, so stay healthy and good luck for everybody. And thank you very much. Bye for now. Bye-bye.